Okay, I hope everybody can see my screen and hear me okay. Actually, I don't think I did a mistake when sharing. I didn't, because there's a little video I'd like to show you, so I need to optimize. Yeah, that's done. Right. Okay, welcome to any new participant who've just arrived. Today, this is a Tipping Point UK training about the East African crude oil pipeline with a particular focus on stop insuring this pipeline. You will understand why in a little bit. But first of all, what is EACOP, the East African crude oil pipeline? This is a very long pipeline that would connect Lake Albert in the northwest of Uganda, where there is plan for oil fields, actually 400 drilling wells to extract oil by Lake Albert across two platforms, the Tilanga oil field and the Kingfisher oil field. You can see Lake Albert in sort of top left of the image. The pipeline would be more than 1,400 kilometers long, which represents a distance like London to Rome, based in Europe. You can see on the map that the pipeline will run alongside Lake Victoria, which is Africa's largest freshwater reserve. It will run up to the Indian Ocean at the bottom right of the image, to the port of Tanga, and the oil will be for mainly exportation, mainly to global north countries. The pipeline will be permanently heated at 50 degrees Celsius to keep the oil fluid and help it transit. Who is behind EACOP? Well, the main stakeholder of the pipeline is a French company, Total Energies, who hold 62% of the shares in the project. They have the support of the Ugandan and Tanzanian government via their national companies who own 15% each of the project. So this is the Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, and the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation, TPDC. CNOOC, the China National Offshore Oil Corporation, also holds 8% of the remaining shares of the project. I also would like to highlight that the key financial advisors for the project are Standard Bank, which is based in South Africa, and ICBC, based in China. Welcome to new people who are joining. We just started the presentation and looking at what is EACOP and who is behind it. What is the problem with EACOP? There are several issues around this pipeline. One of the most concerning one and important one is the climate effect, the effect of producing more oil, extracting more oil on the climate crisis. The project will generate up to 34 million tons of carbon emission each year. That's more than double the current emission of both Uganda and Tanzania. So huge shift in the emission of those countries. The pipeline will also have devastating effects on nature and biodiversity. The oil being drilled near Lake Albert is within Uganda's oldest and largest national park and threaten one of the most ecologically diverse and wildlife-rich regions of the world. Several species that only live in this area would be threatened. You can see some pictures of amazing elephants, rhinos, giraffe, and plenty of others. The pipeline will run through numerous important habitats and nature reserves. But a big effect will also be on people. The pipeline runs next to Lake Victoria. 40 million people depend on Lake Victoria for water and food production. The pipeline would also cross more than 200 rivers, run through thousands of farms, with potential of water pollution and land pollution. If completed, it will displace 100,000 people. It has already forced thousands of families to be displaced from their original lands without adequate compensation. Although the pipeline itself has not been built, the oil extraction by Lake Albert has started, and they are already started to clear the path for the pipeline in different communities, both in Uganda and Tanzania. People who have spoken out or didn't want to move or sell their land received threats, harassment, intimidations, attacks, arrests, and imprisonments. And this is something that is happening to environmental and human rights activists across the world, but definitely a feature we can see in Uganda and Tanzania at the moment. In fact, this project violates multitude of human rights: right to property, to an adequate standard of living, the right to food, education, because people who have been displaced, often their children now haven't got access to schools or to affordable education. The right to health, adequate housing, life and safety, the right to freedom of expression, assembly and association, and also the right to be informed. Only in the last couple of weeks, a Ugandan-based organization called EACOP has published a report. You've got the link here, a short link, but don't worry, I will circulate all the links that I'm referring to. You will also have access to numerous resources about the project. But this report highlights the impact on affected people and communities, and you can see here people from every age. I mean, we've got two 47-year-old women who talk about the impact of being displaced. You've got a 24-year-old, Jonan, who missed out on school education because his mother was displaced and wasn't adequately compensated, so he wasn't able to go to school for a number of years, but also impact on elderly people like Teddy. There is full testimonies in the report, and you will get a copy of it. One of the most controversial issues around EACOP, because bear in mind that in Uganda and Tanzania, not everybody opposes this project. There are also people who advocate for the project, in particular in the fossil fuel sector, but also, in some villages where people have bought in the arguments from the governments that the pipeline will bring economic prosperity to East Africa. And obviously, this is countries that haven't got high emissions, and therefore it would make sense that they are allowed to emit more. And of course, we do agree with that countries that have got very small emissions should be able to access development, and therefore may have to slightly increase their emissions, while countries in the global north should massively reduce them. However, one of the big arguments around the creation of jobs is actually flooded. And we hear that up to 80,000 jobs could be created, and the majority of direct jobs will be for Ugandan people in construction, engineering, transport, security, leisure, and hospitalities. Those jobs claims are massively inflated, and that's not something unique, because actually in most fossil fuel projects, wherever they are in the world, we hear those claims of thousands of jobs would be created. But in fact, when we look at the reality, even Total only estimate that 4,000 direct jobs would be created. And they mainly would exist during the construction phase, which would last 2 to 4 years. Once the pipeline is operational, only 200 to 300 permanent jobs would remain. Some of them will be really specialized, and at the moment, there may not be the expertise in Uganda and Tanzania to fulfill those jobs. So it may be that they have to bring people from different countries, including the global north. So it's important that whilst we campaign to stop EACOP, We also say what we for, they don't miss around jobs, and highlight that far more jobs could be created in alternative sustainable sectors such as renewable energy, public transport, education, agriculture and fisheries, etc. This project has been delayed, and thanks to the campaign, you can see on this timeline that they were hoping to have a final investment decision back at the end of 2017. That means that all the funding and insurances would have been in place by then, allowing the more detailed work to take place across 2018 and construction through 2019, with the first oil extracted in 2020. Thanks to campaigns in East Africa and across the world, this is not the case. No oil has yet been extracted. The pipeline is not constructed, but still some progress in the project have been made. But the campaign has been quite efficient in slowing down the project. In the UK, the Stop EACOP campaign was launched in summer 2022, so we're less than 2 years old. There have been loads of different protests and actions in front of particularly insurance companies and banks, and I'll come back to that in a minute. The two most active areas have been London and Manchester, but also actions in Scotland, Middlesbrough, Birmingham, and other places. There have also been phoning campaigns. We take turns in calling employees of those insurances, informing them about the project, telling them why we don't want their insurance companies to be on board with that. We had the visit from Patience Nabu Kalu in October 2023. Patience is an activist from Fridays for Future Uganda. She visited London, Manchester, and Edinburgh and Glasgow, and participated in some of our actions. We've also done briefings for trade unions and workers, and provided them with resources like motions they can use in their unions to get more support for the campaign. There have been some digital campaignings with email campaigns, but also with the Chili Club app. You can follow the campaign on Instagram and Twitter. The UK campaign is at Let's Stop EACOP UK. It is a global campaign, as I've said. It was started in East Africa by Ugandan and Tanzanian campaigners, but as time passed, we're seeing, action in France, in the US, in Japan. And a good starting point, if you're not yet involved in the campaign, is the film A Crude Reality, which is about 45 minutes long, that really show the impact on people on the ground who are on the path of the pipeline. It can be a good activities to start with to bring more information in your local area, get people on board before you organize protests. Fossil finance campaigning. A lot of the campaigning, especially in global north countries, have focused on what we call fossil finances. This is about targeting banks and insurances, without which the project cannot go ahead. The pipeline needs funding that comes from banks and in insuring. I'm going to try to show this short video. It's only a few minutes long, but it gives you a good understanding of why those financial powers are so important. Bear in mind, this is quite focused on financial actors in the US, but actually it is relevant to many other countries. So let me just put it on and hopefully.
Our survival is at risk because of the prospects of oil production in Uganda.
Beneath the scenic shorelines of Lake Albert, under the water and the lagoons, there are riches. Enough oil to dramatically change the fortune of Uganda. In full production, around 150,000 barrels of oil a day will be pumped out of this area.
It's all about money. They are putting the profits over people.
The town is one of the longest biggest pipeline in the world, and this pipeline is running into my country, Uganda, it's running into my country, Tanzania, and so many households are going to lose, so many people are going to lose their livelihood. This is a danger. This is a danger to us.
They are the ones injecting money into fossil fuels, and they are the ones funding our destruction.
We shall either displace ourselves or shall be displaced by those people.
We're already experiencing oil spills, and species are dying, devastating floods that are destroying people's crops, destroying people's livelihoods. We cannot eat profits. Yeah, Total is doing it because they only care about themselves.
We ask Total to stop funding these fossil fuel projects. They can't fund geothermal, they can't fund solar power if they really care about the future of our people.
Okay, I will go back. Oops, sorry. I will go back to my presentation. Hopefully you found this little thing useful. So who are the actors in the UK? But I'm going to focus on insurance companies because this is the aim of this session. I mean, most banks in the UK have rolled out providing funding to EACOP at this stage. But there are still a number of insurance companies who are based in the UK or have got offices in the UK, like Chaucer, Brait, Chubb, Tokyo Marine Kelm, that have not rolled out EACOP yet. And all those insurances come under Lloyd's of London, which is a big insurance marketplace. So Lloyd's of London is also a target for us, because if they did roll out this type of investment, then all the insurers who belong to this marketplace would be forced to turn down those investments. There is also another actor called Marsh, which is an American company, and they are an insurance broker. Without going to all the details of the insurance world, which might not understand fully, but a broker is somebody who is the middleman between the project and the insurers. So Marsh is also a target. In terms of banks, what have been achieved so far, they only got 10% of their finance secured, although this figure may have slightly gone up in the recent months. 27 of the 30 banks that we've targeted by the campaign have refused to fund the project so far. There was also some legal processes that prove that EACOP doesn't comply with the environmental and social standards of the International Finance Corporation. During that time, the project cost has increased from $3.5 billion to an estimated $5 billion, which make the likeliness of the project lower. And we've managed to build a growing public outrage around this pipeline. So it's become an iconic fight against colonial fossil fuel development in Africa. Clearly, most of the benefit reaped from this pipeline, if built, would actually go to the French company, the Ugandan and Tanzanian government, who have had to take more debt to be able to be part of the project. However, the problem we've got now, it looks like China may step in to finance the project, although we've been hearing that for the last few years, and it still hasn't happened. So they still hope they won't, but there are regular conversations with the Chinese government. In terms of insurances, why is it an absolutely crucial tactic? Because so far, no insurance for the project has been confirmed. No insurance, no project. They need those global insurance companies to be on board. It cannot be insured by a local firm. 28 insurance companies so far have refused to insure the project. We had a global week of action in February. I'll show you a few pictures in a moment. And groups are taking action on a regular basis, targeting those insurances that are still to roll out the product. We're being supported by a global campaign called Insure Our Future. It's not just EACOP focus, but it target insurances about lots of different fossil fuel projects in the world. It's a very useful website to have a look at. There's also other organizations that campaign around fossil finance and insurance, fossil fuels. Share Action is one of them. They've just published an interesting report that showed that the insurance world is not adapted at all to the climate crisis, extreme weather events, and they're not insuring the right project and the people who may live in affected areas. So, they may want to insure fossil fuel project, but they don't want to insure people who live in flooded area, which is absolutely scandalous. The list of insurances who have rolled out EACOP is available on the Stop EACOP website. You'll get a link after the training, but just to give you an idea of the arrays of those names that you probably will recognize some of them. And it's many countries, UK, Germany. Number of them are based in Bermuda, trying to avoid paying tax. Switzerland, Australia, France, East Africa, Italy, Belgium, United States. Those who haven't rolled out EACOP and therefore our main targets are the following. So in the UK, Lloyds, Kiln, Brit, Chaucer's, and then the US company Liberty Mutual, AIG, and Chubb. And note that although they are sort of their headquarters in those two countries, they have offices across the world in many of the main capital cities. The February Global Week of Action was an absolute success. I mean, you can see some of the images there of, people protesting all across the world. And that's not even all the protests that took place, but you see people from Uganda, Tanzania, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Japan, Switzerland, Indonesia, and in the UK, there were a number of protests. I've put pictures from London, Manchester, Middlesbrough. It's really, building our confidence and our hope when we see so many people uniting across countries to protest in solidarity of our friends in Uganda and Tanzania. What's coming next? I'm sorry if you're not based in the UK, but this is UK focus. We have got a big plan for an event in Manchester during the BIBA conference. The BIBA conference is the British Insurance Brokers Association. And up to 7,000 insurance professionals are expected to attend this 2 days conference. On the 15th of April, we're planning a all-day protest with a program of activities from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. One of our main focus is going to be to amplify the voices of East African women and highlight the impact of the climate crisis on women and children. There will be also voices from other women from the Global South. We will hold a women's circle where we'll read and listen some of those testimonies. But throughout the day, there'll be plenty of things to get involved in, apart from leafleting the delegates, holding placards and props. We've got fake pipeline. We are also using creative tactics to attract the attention of delegates, but also to make the day less depressing and have a bit of fun. So we'll have some street theater, choirs, a disco obedience, which is a sort of like dance routine that everybody can join in. If you're based in Manchester or in the area, or you able to travel for this event for the day, my email will be on the last slide. So, please do get in touch. We have got WhatsApp chats and, different ways of participating and working groups or the different activities. If you're based in London and you can't travel to the north, this happened. On the same day, there will be an action taking place at the Africa Energy Summit, which is mainly a big oil gathering where they invite some of the African leaders and African oil executives to try to make some business deals. This is not an insurance protest, but African friends have asked London groups if they could organize an event. So that's the two things that are coming up. I'm coming to the end of my presentation now, so thank you so much for joining this training. You've got a link for a full resource pack that I will send you via email after the training. And also, if you'd like to join some of the UK groups, you can email me at clara@tippingpointuk.org. If you are based in another country and you haven't got contact with active groups, feel free to also email me and I'll try to connect you. Right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I've probably gone on a little bit longer than I was planning, but